A famous Liam Martin, the Exile Minds podcast, got a reaction to a Roger Spurr video from Mudfossil University. Yeah, and check this guy, stuff's wild, but it's there. You've got to follow the information. That's what real science is. You just got to go with it. No preconceptions. So Roger, I happen to know a bit about this, the Gnostics, and so we do a little bit of a response as I play it. I'll probably cut it in later. I'll just play it on my phone as we go through.
Very deep.
This guy it is really deep. This philosophical stuff. It's wild what's going on there. But anyway, I believe.
In theosophical terms,
The theosophical
Pistis represents the soul, our soul.
The soul.
Or more specifically, the part of the soul that incarnates.
Right, the part of the soul that incarnates, straight away, right? What soul are we talking about? Are we talking, that's the anima mundi, that's the world soul. But are we talking about the soul of the actual world, the earth itself? Or are we talking about humanity's soul as a gestalt soul? And it's both. And the reason that it's both, I got this information for looking at this stuff in the work of John Lamb Lash, as a comparative mythologist that wanted to do a non-Christian perspective on looking at the Nag Hammadi text. So his book was not in his image. I've seen him doing a lot of interviews about it. And I've seen him talk a lot about it through something else, the Gaia navigation experiment, where he was saying the Earth was repositioning itself, whatever. It was measuring it by the moon apogee and perigee. But anyway, so let's move on. John Lamlash, it's worth checking out, definitely, with this stuff.
Namely, the monad of consciousness in the concrete mind. Well, what is a monad?
The monad of consciousness in the concrete mind. The reason that's really big and significant in the Nag Hammadi stuff is because the idea is that a Pistis Sophia was a kind of non-corporeal being, an aeon. Okay, so one of these aeons are like really wise advanced beings that have kind of like shed the corporeal form. They've done a lot of stuff, and they've done so much stuff that what they do for sort of entertainment and for their evolution is that they hang out in the center of the galaxy. They're supposed to live in the center of the galaxy. This is the story. And they run experiments and try and do stuff with evolution, see what happens. But this Gaia, Pistis Sophia, is supposed to have created the human genome, invented it as a new kind of creature. And when she span it out into the galaxy, she got pulled into the experiment. And I think that might be the bit coming up. But yeah, she's supposed to have created the human genome. So that's essentially our God. Although it's not really the creator of the universe, because it's just a really super advanced being that created the human genome, but kind of got pulled into the experiment. Okay?
Monad. A monad is the smallest indivisible particle there is, which literally is light. All of this is talking about light. Everything here is about light. This treasury of light. I did a video on this several years back, and it's going to follow this. And I spoke of this, but now we need to speak much deeper about this, because many, many, many things have come to pass since then. But this is all about wisdom. Sophia is Greek for wisdom.
All about the wisdom.
Pistis Sophia. Pistis is Greek word for faith, not blind faith. Faith from wisdom, from knowing, from understanding.
Gnosis.
Gnosticism means knowing. It means
Gnosis.
Learning. It means
from Greek, those that know, or the know-it-alls. The Greeks called them the know-it-alls. The Gnostics had a vow of silence. They called themselves the Telestai, those who were aimed. Those who were aimed. They had a vow of silence, and they broke it to warn the Gnostics that Abrahamic religions had this idea of a chosen people. And once you get that into humanity's mind, it's like a parasite. And it says it'll keep people separated forever until you stamp it out. And that's where it gets a massive can of worms with the religion stuff.
Wisdom. So, listen to this now. Her name is key to her role. Pistis is a Greek word for faith, not blind faith, but faith arising from total conviction of inner knowledge.
Knowing.
Sophia is Greek for wisdom. Thus, her compound name indicates the fundamental principle.
You know.
Faith
Nobody can tell you
in the
now.
light an aspect of God that enables her to undertake her mission, namely the development
Those that know and speak with conviction, because like you've done the chemistry, you've done it, you know. Nobody can tell you not with some of this stuff because you've done it yourself. The closest you'll ever get to a truth, because there is no truth, because it's all subjective, because we create the outside world in our own head, so it's always going to be subjective. But the closest you're ever going to get to a truth is going to be the immediate presence of felt experience, right? And so that's why you do the stuff, you know, nobody can tell you different. And it turns out MIT did a study, if emotions have radio waves, vibes are a thing. And vibes, the strongest one, the strongest emotion, isn't love and it's not hate. No, 4 times stronger than love is the frequency of speaking honestly with integrity. 4 times stronger than love, speaking truth. Not just your truth, or identify as a lamp today. No. Don't make up reality. No. This stuff. And the Theosophical Society always talks about, Aldous Huxley talks about it, and there's other terms for it. The perennial philosopher. This wisdom comes back and then goes away, and then comes back and then goes away. And both sides suppress it. One suppress it for, power reasons to have an advantage, and other people suppress it because you can't give the kids matches. You have to go through a process. And so they say the reason for religions is to separate the idiot from the initiate. Ask and ye shall receive. Seek and ye shall find. But those that won't do the work can't go through the filters to then see the things. And that's good. Both the power people and New World Order and the magicians both hide this stuff. It's because you don't want a planet full of Merlins that haven't learned to use it properly.
Wisdom in both worlds. That's what this
like using your
life
light
is about, as far as I'm concerned.
As well as the light.
The monad of consciousness, that is light. That is light. And everything I'm talking about is...
And when a sperm enters an egg to fertilize it, it's a flash of light, by the way. It's another study.
About the treasury of light. I have it here somewhere. I was just looking at it from a long time ago. Well, anyway, I'll find it. It's going to follow this video. I mean, this section of the video. And there are planes of existence that we live on. Yeah. That doesn't mean the Earth is a plane, a flat plane or anything. It means that there's different realms,
stacks,
one on top of another.
Holographic layering, as above so below, many souls, we're interdimensional beings.
The bad guy, the demiurge, told her to turn around and look down. Somehow he forced her to look down, and she saw another region of light below and went down to that, and then cascaded down into the abyss where we are.
So she cascades down into the abyss, and according to the studies of John Lamb-Lash, with his book Not in His Image, she's supposed to have pushed this experiment out and spun it off, I think, Orion, to then... She's supposed to have done it by proxy. She's supposed to send it somewhere and then make it remote project out there, but because she tried to send it direct, it pulled her into it. And the idea was, it created a kind of gigantic plasma bolt, like the biggest ever bolt of lightning you can imagine. That's her travelling to the arm of the Milky Way. Or it might have been, I think it might have been the Andromeda Galaxy. Anyway, she sends out this human genome, which is great, but that big lightning bolt created insect-like creatures. I think there's an exogenesis thing. Was it Watts? There was some experiment where some guy on an electrode back in the sort of 1800s said he created insects when he came back to his experiment with these electrodes, like spontaneously and whatever. But that's supposed to have happened, and that's what the archons are. It describes them like locusts. He created a bunch of locusts, like hordes of them, and like buzzing around it here, and it was like annoying her. So she gave them the power to create a solar system to keep them busy while she figured out what to do. But then they had been given the power of a god, so to speak. So they thought they were God, right? So you got these accidental abominations made that are given the power of a god. So they put Saturn as the center of the solar system, and it all don't work. So she decides, rather than scrap the experiment, she'll turn herself into a planet, and she'll turn herself, she'll give herself a body and become the planet. So she'll be part of the experiment then, and then we get to all live on it. So she's literally a body. She literally turns herself into a body. So she might not even be a corpse if she's asleep. She's asleep. Do you know what I'm saying? And she's probably having dreams of being raped. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? If this is the case. But whatever, it literally says that in the Nag Hammadi stuff. Anyway, continuing.
Are now in chaos. And if you, well, here it says right here, the regents or archons of the aeons are the main allies of the self-centered one. That's the bad guy. And they stand for the emotions and passions of man. The emotions. Leading them is the lion-faced power. An emancipation of the self-centered one, standing for egotism, the strongest force driving man away from God. And
yeah, it's tied up together there. It's saying that aeons are sort of supporting the bad guys. No, this John Lash interpretation is no. The being that created the genome is called an aeon and creates these things. But these locust things are described as neonatal, as in like oh, we're hairless apes, aren't we? Like a baby form. A fetus form, neonatal, like the Greys, and they're supposed to have had these other like higher up ones that were kind of in charge, you know. And they're supposed to be the masters of virtual reality. They can, and they want to come into Earth, but because they're made in the way that it was made, they can't ever be on Earth. They want to replace us because they were here first, and then she recreates the solar system, and then we get to be the life on there, and they're like pissed. That's supposed to be the idea. So this is like the idea of kind of demons always trying to get in, but they can never really exist here. All they can ever really do is consume and destroy everything, because they're kind of technically they're demented, because they was given the power of gods and they think they're God. So it's not their fault, but they are demented. So that's supposed to be the idea. It's like life's a bitch. You know, it's not her fault, but she is a demented bitch, and she is spiteful. It's kind of one of them, you know. It's not her fault, but she will still kill you.
Into chaos, and he's the guy that tricked her to look down instead of up, and then she just, from then on, it's been a nightmare.
So maybe she was tricked by some other being to do that.
Right,
I don't
just
know.
briefly, before you see the video, this is the Gnostic library that they discovered in 1945, the Nag Hammadi texts. And these are the sayings that were written down at the time Jesus spoke by Judas Didymus Thomas, who is Doubting Thomas. He said, whoever discovers the interpretations of these sayings will not taste death. Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. If you don't seek, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if you're seeking, don't stop seeking until you find. Don't stop.
Because when it gets most frustrating and you think you blew it, that's usually when you get your breakthrough. Like learning a new skill.
Because when you find, you will be disturbed, and when you are disturbed, you will marvel and will reign over all. It just means basically everybody's lost now that I can find. And after they have reigned, they will rest. So Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed, and when they are disturbed,
it's disturbing. A lot of this stuff's disturbing. There's so many disturbing rabbit holes. I got a list of them. I could just reel off.
The body.
But we've had time. This is the important thing to remember as well. People who have done this for a long time, they've had a lot of time to swallow a lot of individual red pills. That's why people can't swallow it all at once. It's like, but they got to, because this is what it's all about now, and this is why there's the Nova Seclorum Order out of Chaos. They know what's happening with the stars. They know the bullshitting is with it. The bullshitting is with it because they know we've just passed the galactic equator. So between 2012 and 2020, bombarded with high-frequency gamma rays, which repair DNA instead of damaging it, as far as I'm aware. So that means that's like a great reset. Yeah. And so it's like the veil's thinning, Age of Aquarius, Pisces is finished, that energy's not there anymore. Whether it's just that radiation, those particles in that area, we're in a different region of space now, or whether it's a bit more spiritual thing, but it doesn't matter. We're in a different region now. Aquarius is about tipping out the reciprocal, the stagnant water, to put in fresh stuff. So it's all going to be about honesty now. And people had enough, and it's the change in the era. That's what it seems to be in astrotheology.
Earth is dead bodies on a corpse. It seems to me. Jesus said, whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass.
Yeah.
Whoever has discovered
Literally
a
be a
carcass
body.
of that person, the world is not worthy.
And mining all the oil, the
Carcass is
so-called fossil
underneath.
fuels, is probably fluids for the planet. That's why you're getting sinkholes, you know. And because it seems to be abiotic. That's another thing, crude oil. Apparently, that's abiotic. That's seen years ago. They found, you know, and they're finding oil fields that were depleted, replenishing themselves. And I know Australia found a load of it on the north coast years ago. I think it was even on coast to coast. But yet, why aren't they super rich now? What's going on? And they got really locked down during the you know what? They got locked down hard. So it's like, what's going on here? And that's a pretty magical place, Australia, in terms of the Becker-Hagen's grid and energy nodes. And I think it's the only one that's got a major energy node on a landmass, and it's right where Pine Gap is as well. And get some Montauk Project, Stranger Things stuff, and everything. That's be a good place to do it. Anyway. So yeah, so it's about light. So Roger, you did the thing with the what they're doing with that for like $500, the Hadron Collider thing. Yeah, darkness, two separate particles, light, the light bit, and then dark particle inside, giving it the punch. Yeah. So look at the sun. The sunspots, perfect circles, man, is all that light. What? Because it's dark on the inside. I wondered about that. Is it dark on the inside? Is it a hyperdimensional object, energy being manifested in from somewhere else, fed in, but so you don't see it until it manifests, and then you only see when it manifests, the surface. And that's probably why when you get a sunspot, there's always one on the opposite side, as if it's a hole straight through. You know? Some kind of quantum tunneling to then open it, and then you're seeing inside of it, and it's black because it's not manifest yet. You can't see it. Which then gets you wondering. Anyway.
Ethan, and there's just
So many
dead
things.
bodies, corpses all over it. And this is 80. 56, I think it's 80.
So the sun, that's Jesus.
Yeah,
It's
here
Thor.
we go.
Right? His twin,
Jesus
his
said,
brother,
whoever has
Saturn.
come to know the world has discovered the body, and whoever discovered the body of that one, the world is not worthy. The earth is literally a corpse
Earth's
of
a
some
corpse.
kind of biology, I don't know what.
Earth's a
And
corpse.
it's
They know all this
completely
stuff. They
covered
know all
with-
this stuff. Look, Jesus is the Son of God. But then people worship the sun, the light. Yeah, it's supposed to have a twin, which is Saturn, which is Satan. Okay, and that's the Grim Reaper. And then you got Jupiter. It's Peter the Jew, Jupiter. So then, European churches are the Church of the Christ, Church of the Sun, but at the same time, they're also the Church of Satan because they've got a twin. But then the Latin American churches, they're the Church of Satan. They're the Church of Satan and the Grim Reaper, because that's why they all wear black, like the Grim Reaper. So they're a Saturnalian church as well as the Church of Christ, whereas European ones are a Church of Jupiter, Peter the Jew, Jupiter. So he's got and then you've got Thor, who's got the Warriors Free, who's got somebody the Enormous, yeah, which is Jupiter, somebody the Grim, which is the Grim Reaper, which is Saturn, and somebody the Falstag the Dashing, which will be Mars. It moves faster, it's smaller. Right? It's the Azabel so below literally. Because also you've got the Claustrum in your head, Santa Claus, which is a structure in your brain, and the oil that comes up and down your spine to create your Kundalini experiences and get your connection, you know, your psychedelic connection. You know what I'm saying? It's all that stuff as well, which is why you've got to get rid of psychedelic sacraments. You've got to put women down because they know the recipes. And you've got to create some kind of savagery, racism thing, or they're all savages because they've got their own psychedelic sacraments. So you've got to monopolize the connection to the cosmos, and then you get that fall from grace, fall from heaven, because then we don't know anything, you know. Unless you're seeking all the time, constantly connecting dots, because that's what it takes, you know.
Dead bodies. That's what. There's so much in
So
this. And I got to tell you the truth. There is stuff in here that, boy, I'll tell you, if you can understand it, God bless
It's
you.
hard. It's hard
I can't.
stuff to understand. It
And
is. It's
that's
really
why
complicated.
I'm trying to seek until I
gets
discover.
really
and then,
stupidly
'cause I'm already
complicated.
disturbed. I can guarantee that.
Well, I think-
a lot of people call me extremely disturbed, and I am marveling daily. As you will. We need to start to go through this, and I hope we're going to be able to go through this. I have a couple of guys that seem extremely knowledgeable.
And what about the
way beyond
paranormal?
my
Some crazy shit, man.
capabilities.
Crazy shit.
About
Recorded
this
as well.
particular stuff. Now, I have some other
Let's see what we got.
capabilities that they may not possess in the material world, because that's what I am, a material
Here we go.
scientist. I don't really speculate a lot. I do go back to the ancient texts, absolutely. And Pistis Sophia was supposed to be written.
There you go. I'm an ideas guy. Yeah, I can do the technical stuff. I'm going to learn it. I'll teach myself, right? But this is the point of the conversations and throwing. I've made comments before on other videos for the mud fossils, but and there's one where I put like 4 speculative ideas. Oh, it could be this, could be that, could be this. Because that's I'm an ideas guy, so I think my job is to collate them, connect all these dots, and just throw them out there for people like you to then use some of those technical expertise that, like I say, maybe I ain't got. I ain't got time to get. I'm better off doing this. You're better off doing that. And we'll meet in the middle. That's how you got to do this stuff, folks. We got to do this ourselves. You know, because there's grant money and academic bullying. Even academics write about academic bullying and status quo and stuff. Man, they're scamming us with everything. The whole world's a Truman Show. It seems to me. And I think I can qualify it as well. So
11 years that Jesus came back to earth after he died. He was supposed to be reincarnated, came back to earth, got all the guys around him, his mother and Mary Magdalene and whoever was left of the disciples. I really don't know the extreme details here, but for 11 years he was supposed to have come back and what they say discussed back and forth. He said, I will tell you anything you want to know. I've been there, I've done it, and whatever you want to know, let's get it out on the table now so you can present this to the future generations, because if they want to get out of this mess they're in, and I'm telling you, we are in a mess, they better start thinking.
So, the perennial philosopher, again, there's in Buddhism, they're saying Buddha's changed over. We've got Maitreya Buddha now. No, the Buddha's switched. I didn't know there's lots of Buddhas, but yeah, learn about this stuff. So the new Buddha's here. So they're saying some of these people that's achieved the goal of learning the laws of nature and stuff, then they become masters, right? Like Jesus and the Buddha and whatnot. Okay, so you got this, but then Jesus, Christ, he's supposed to be the physical person, not the Christos oil, but the physical person in history. He's not even the main guy. According to the Theosophical Site and the Perennial Philosopher, which is the source material for all the religions, been with us since the dawn of man. So those teachings and those writings are saying, look, Jesus achieved the goal. Only 63 people have ever done it, to learn all the skills or whatever. Learn all your Siddha powers, your miracle powers, whatever. But he was learning under the Buddha. It almost seems as if he just got the limelight, but there was the Buddha there, and they've got this big plan going on, like Lords of Karma and stuff all involved, and it's supposed to be 96,000 years in the making, and they're saying it is dropping now. This is when it drops, right? And if that were the case, all these big revealings are happening. Well, now we know that particles aren't fundamental. They're not fundamental. They're created by the consciousness, and so it blows everything out of the water. And so, if all the spiritual teachings are true, is it looking like it? And if then you're going to want to hijack that. All these bad people are going to want to hijack this, because consciousness governs reality. They're hijacking the language, because the world's made a language. You have to be able to label things to describe them. It's a hijack, I think. But all this stuff's going to come out, trying to hijack it from us to get us to manifest the dystopian world. But not going to happen, is it? This is too late. That's why it looks like a shotgun wedding. Because it is. Look around the world. But asking ye shall receive, man. Just keep looking. That's what I say. Grow the grass beneath your own feet. So, anyway, just thought
It's Roger, Mudfossil University. Today we have a very meaningful, deep discussion. Now, most of you who have been paying attention understand the deep details of what Mudfossils has discovered and uncovered. Now, the ones that haven't, I'm just going to give you a quick list, and then we're going to go on from here. You're going to have to do a little investigation on your own. You want to understand what this is. Now, Mary, I think this was Mary Magdalene, but Mary and his mother Mary were both there, and this is after he came back to earth. Mary continued again and said unto the Savior, My Lord, if the faith and the mysteries shall have revealed themselves now, therefore, if souls come into the world in many circuits and are neglectful of receiving the mysteries which are being revealed now, hoping that if they come into the world at another circuit, so reborn, they will receive them. They're here now, and they didn't take them now.
Yeah.
So they were hoping
The Buddha said
maybe sometime
ignorance
in
is
the
no
future they'll
excuse.
receive them. Will they not be in
It's
danger
there.
of not succeeding in receiving the mystery? So what does the Savior say? The Savior answered and said unto his disciples, Herald unto the whole world and say unto men, strive thereafter that ye may receive the mysteries of the light in this time of affliction and enter into the light kingdom. All right, this is all about light. This is not, and I've been assaulted for trying to expose this and to talk about light. I'm told to be quiet and shut up. Go back to looking at mud fossils. Don't talk about anything. Don't talk about space. Don't talk about
it's everything. This captures everything. You get the light, you get the magic, you get the language, you get everything. You get the whole thing. And you know what I like to say? Ascended masters don't pay taxes, do they? As well, so
so I put those people aside because this is my
it's
most
vested
important
interest
thing
in
right
making
here,
sure you
to get
don't
into
know.
this light kingdom. So let's see what Pistis Sophia had to say in this book. It wasn't Pistis Sophia writing; it's about Pistis Sophia. All right, this is the first book of Pistis Sophia, and this is by Spoken Scriptures. Highly recommended. Very, very good. She does a ton of nice speaking voice. Very well done. So here it goes. Now listen to this. If you think you understand mysteries, well, here's a mystery for you. And this mystery is a serious mystery. Now, like I said, I've done a lot of research and a lot of reading and a lot of going back through the history, and as far as I can see, after finding the dragon in the desert and all the other things that I have found, and all the things in the history books and the Bible and the script, all of the ancient texts, not just the Bible, it's all the papyruses, and, because I go back into the Titans and all that, because the Bible was misunderstood. The Genesis 6.4 wrongly interpreted.
Yeah, the Bible gets misunderstood easily because it's an astrology book, right? But then it's a book about parables and like morals, right? And then on another level, it's a book about stuff that's happened, like history. So it's a history book, but it's a book about astrology. It's a book about these like morals and but probably a bit of propaganda mixed in there. But it's also telling you alchemy. How to do your alchemy, and you get your light out. And it's lots of things at the same time. It's heavily coded, and it's done that way on purpose.
The way it was written to really be the meaning was there was giants in the earth in those days. They were the men of old, the men of renown. They were the Titans. Then after that, the clay of the ground, which was the Titans, containing that day DNA, was used to make Adam, and the daughters of Adam went
genetic manipulation also has been going on then.
Angels.
The Cadius, the medical symbol, that's the DNA helix, for example.
What has not been understood, and mysteries abound. Now, Jody and I will be going through a lot, because it's all tied in. And there's many books of this, and there's hundreds of chapters. So let's just start with the beginning.
And the thing is as well, and this is just, the Nagamati texts are just a fragment. That's how John Lamlash describes it. He says they're just a fragment of scraps of notes left over. Because the Gnostics, according to Lash, were stomped out in the most aggressive military campaign in history to just go after one target. They were stamped out. So the Gnostics are supposed to have had a school in Ireland, Celtic school, and had a school in Iran, which may be where the Sufism comes from, or intermingles. And then the mystery schools is where it's originally coming from. So you've got the mystery schools, Library of Alexandria, and then a university division in Ireland and Iran. It's spread around the world, So he stamped that out. Seems like Rome stamped it out, right? But maybe copied all that stuff or whatever. But it's stamped out. It must be a big threat. And saying there was that thing that they warned about the Abrahamic religions. So it was like, it's a lot about control, man. Controlling the world. Controlling the magic. Controlling minds. Controlling control. Power. Take the power away.
Sophia. Translated by G.S.R. Mead. Chapter 1. It came to pass, when Jesus had risen from the dead, that he passed 11 years discoursing with his disciples, and instructing them only up to the regions of the first commandment and up to the regions of the first mystery, that within the veil, within the first commandment, which is the 24th mystery without and below, those 24 which are in the second space of the first mystery, which is before all mysteries, the Father in the form of a dove. And Jesus said to his disciples, I am come forth out of that first mystery, which is the last mystery, that is the 24th mystery. And his disciples have not known nor understood that anything exists within that mystery. But they thought of that mystery, that it is the head of the universe and the head of all existence. And they thought it is the completion of all completions, because Jesus has said to them concerning that mystery, that it surrounded the first commandment and the 5 impressions and the great light and the 5 helpers and the whole treasury of light.
The whole treasury of light. It's all about light. That is where we have to go. You go the other direction, you are in trouble.
Turn your senses inwards.
And moreover, Jesus had not told his disciples the total expansion of all the regions of the great invisible, and of the 3 triple powers, and of the 24 invisibles, and all their regions, and their aeons, and their orders, how they are extended. Those which are the emanations of the great invisible, and their ungenerated, and their self-generated, and their generated, and their light givers, and their unpaired, and their rulers, and their authorities, and their lords, and their archangels, and their angels, and their deacons, and their servers, and all the houses of their spheres, and the orders of every one of them. And Jesus had not told his disciples the total expansion of the emanations of the treasury.
That's the total expansion of the emanations of the treasury of light. It's all about light.
Nor their orders, how they are extended.
K-Pax, Kevin
Nor
Spacey,
had he told them of their saviors,
it was supposed to be an
according
alien,
to the order of every
and he
one,
travelled
how
on
they
light.
are.
And nor
had he told them what guard is at every gate of the treasury of light.
They do that, and it's the kind of that
Nor
has so
had
much
he
power
told
in
them
it.
the region of the twin
Too much
savior,
power in light. Destroy
who is the
yourself.
child of the child. Nor had he
That
told them the
hints.
regions of the 3 amens, in what regions they are expanded. Nor had he told them.
It goes on and on and on for the nor had he told them.
Nor had he told them. You can't.
What
I
I
say
want-
people have need to seek enough to be able to understand it. It's like going up the Tower of Babel. You've got to get your frequency up enough, or get enough knowledge, or connect enough dots to be able to understand it, to even be able to talk about it. You've got to get to a bit, and you have to get to the thing is, experiential learning is the closest you're ever going to get to any truth. So you've got to do it yourself. You can't have somebody tell you. You've got to have the epiphany yourself. You've got to make the discovery yourself. You've got to do it, Neo. Like, you know, you can only be taken to the door. You've got to walk through the door. Yeah, here's the water, Mr. Horse, Mr. Ed. You can drink it. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. That's the thing. You've got to do it, because it's on you. It's on you. It's all on you. You can't unknow things. So it's like, careful what you wish for, but go and do it. Always have your compass set to weird, because that's where the fun stuff is, and that's where the breakthroughs are, as McKenna used to say. So you're measuring a battery that's 3 volts, and you measure it 100 times, you get in what, 2.2, 2.7, 3.2, 3.1, and then you get 50,000 volts on measurement 57, and then you get 3.2, 2.4, 2.8. No, they're all boring results. You're supposed to do a best line fit for all the boring results. No, you want to investigate 50,000 volts, because if that's supposed to be a 3 volt battery and you're getting 50,000 volts, that's the fun bit. Go and check that out. Ignore the rest of them. And that's the thing. We're all geniuses, just undeveloped. So go and develop your mind. Go and do stuff. Biggest killer of all people is retirement. So exercise your brain. Go and do it. Because everyone's an expert if you've done it long enough. Cheers. Liam Martin, Exo Minds Podcast. Nice one, Roger.